The cage doors shook, and the academy staff scrambled for shelter. The creature inside was known only as Subject 13. It towered over every guard, its scales like fractured stone, and its eyes burned with a deep, golden light. For years, it had been chained up as part of a behavioral study on hostile alien predators. But that morning, something snapped in the locking system. The chains fell. The beast pushed forward. Alarms blared through the halls. Students scatter, a wave of panic sweeping through the corridors. Most had only ever seen the beast from behind reinforced glass. We all believed it would attack the first living thing it saw. I was one of those students. My name is Rowan, and I'd only arrived at the academy 3 months earlier. I had no training, no idea how to face a creature like this. When the alarm sounded, I ran with everyone else. Suddenly, a support beam cracked overhead. A heavy metal panel slammed down, blocking the hallway and splitting our group in two. I was left standing alone. I heard the creature before I saw it. Heavy thudding. Steps shook the ground. Its breath came in slow, powerful bursts. I turned, and there it stood, free for the first time since its capture. Its head lowered, its massive claws dug into the floor as it watched me. The academy had taught us that Subject 13 was unpredictable, that it didn't respond to commands. They said it had no empathy, that it was pure, raw instinct. And in that terrifying moment, I believed every word of it. I backed away until my shoulders hit the cold, unmoving panel. There was nowhere to run. The beast moved closer. The hall lights flickered, casting long, distorted shadows. Its own shadow grew until it covered me completely. I raised my hands, bracing for the inevitable, expecting claws to tear through me. Instead, the creature stopped. Its warm breath brushed against my face. I expected rage, a primal fury, but what I saw in its golden eyes was something else entirely. Not anger, not hunger. It was something like recognition. The beast lifted its head, looking past me at the fallen panel. It pressed one claw against the metal, not to strike me, but to test the blockage. Then it looked back at me. I didn't understand what it wanted. My legs felt weak, my throat tight, but still, it didn't attack. Instead, it turned its massive body sideways, placing itself between me and the sound of approaching guards. Seconds later, Te Rousseid, in shock batons, raced. They saw me, trapped beside the beast, and shouted warnings, ordering me to stay down. The creature lowered its stance and released a deep, rumbling growl. Not at me. At them. Every single guard froze. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Subject 13 was defending a human student. The guards tried to circle us, but the beast spread its wings, a magnificent, intimidating display that forced them back. It didn't strike. It simply blocked their advance. I could feel the immense weight of its presence. This wasn't protection out of loyalty. It was something older, something more instinctive. I remembered a lecture where researchers described its species. They were territorial. They bonded not through trust, but through a recognition of vulnerability. The first living thing they faced in a moment of freedom shaped their entire response, and I had been that creature. The lead guard ordered his team to stand down. They slowly, hesitantly, lowered their weapons. The beast relaxed, but it didn't move away from me. It kept its gaze fixed on them, its breathing slowing to a steady rhythm. The alarms began to fade into the background. I pushed myself off the metal panel, my voice shaking as I told the guards it hadn't harmed me. They still looked unsure. No one in the academy had ever seen this kind of behavior. More staff arrived, setting up a perimeter and working to reopen the blocked hallway. I remained behind the beast, because it wouldn't let me step away. When an engineer tried to approach me, it growled again. I raised my hand, and the beast fell silent, watching me with those steady, golden eyes. Something had formed between us. Not trust, not friendship. A fragile connection built on fear and survival. Once the hallway was cleared, the staff tried to lure the creature back into containment. It refused. It stayed right beside me, When I took a step forward, it followed. When I stopped, it stopped. There was no aggression, only a rigid decision it had made on its own. The Academy had no protocol for this. They had studied its mind for years, yet none of their textbooks could explain why a beast would guard a student it had never met. Eventually, the director arrived. She calmly examined the situation and explained that the creature had imprinted on me during its escape. She said separating us by force might trigger an attack. She instructed me to guide it back to a reinforced enclosure. My hands were shaking. My heart pounded against my ribs. Still, I walked. The beast followed without hesitation, and the guards watched in disbelief. Inside the enclosure, the beast lowered itself to the ground. It looked at me one last time and slowly closed its eyes. I stepped out, and the heavy doors sealed behind me. The director placed a hand on my shoulder and told me I'd done well, but I couldn't stop thinking about the moment the beast first looked at me. It had chosen to protect me when every instinct should have urged it to kill. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the events. The terror. The silence. The strange calm after the guards backed away. I realized something the Academy had never considered. The beast wasn't reacting to training. It was reacting to survival. It understood fear not as a signal to attack, but as a signal to defend. And I had been the only creature in that hall more afraid than it was. From that day on, the Academy changed its approach. They no longer treated the beast as a mindless predator. They started studying its protective nature, and they asked me to be present during evaluations. It always watched me, not with hunger, not with hostility, but with the same guarded awareness it had shown in the hall. The day it broke free, it had been called a monster. The day it shielded me, everything changed. It proved that even the fiercest creature could show a different nature when confronted with vulnerability instead of violence. And I will never forget that moment when death stood right in front of me, and then chose instead to guard me like one of its own. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more.